This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is the After Party live on a Monday. My hair's been messed up all day, but who cares? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. Sorry it took a little while. Mark is going away for the rest of the week, so there was a lot to discuss as far as me hosting for him for Tuesday through Friday of this week. So a lot of going on the Mark Thompson Show, talking about some interviews that we've recorded that I think you're really going to like. One is with a man who he's very big in the world of AI, and he started thinking about what would happen if in the future, maybe as soon as 2040, there was an AI who ran for president. A kind of interesting, thought game to see how that might pan out or play out. So that's a really interesting interview. There's several of them that are coming up on the Mark Thompson Show, but this is the After Party Live. Please click the like button if you can. Thank you to everyone who contributes to this show. I saw a $5 contribution from Wes come through today on the PayPal link, which you'll find at the bottom of the show description and also in the About tab under the After Party Live here on YouTube. So that's the bread and butter. So thank you so much for doing that. Really appreciate everyone who's contributing and doing it that way. Am I muted? Can you guys hear me okay? I have to go to the chat. It seems like I'm not muted. My little mute button isn't pressed. Can you hear me okay? Oh, someone heard me say AI president, so I think I'm okay. Walter says hello. Gordon says, I get nothing, but Eric can hear me. Okay. I don't know what's going on with your thing, Gordon. I'm sorry you can't hear me. Maybe a reboot. I don't know, but I think I'm broadcasting, so I think I'm going out over the air. Yeah. It says, Deidre says yes. Wes says you can hear me. Okay. All right, so I'm going to press forward, and hopefully, Gordon, you can figure out what's wrong on your end. Sorry about that. Not sure. Oh, Gordon says I'm okay now. Okay. All right, we're in business, back in business and ready to go. Did you guys see what happened at the double arches? Let's talk about this, because it's just so fascinating to me. So here's how it looked before. This is the double arches in Utah. It's a really popular kind of geological phenomenon that a lot of people go and see. It's a very popular area. It's this double rock formation. It's in Utah's Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. It's no more. If you saw it, good for you, because it's a goner. It collapsed last week. A big hole formed in this 190 million year old sandstone rock, which is situated right along Lake Powell. And it collapsed. Sometimes they called it not the double arches, but they called it the toilet bowl. You can see why. And sometimes they called it the crescent pool, and others called it the hole in the roof. It's about 300 miles east of Las Vegas. And the good thing is, no one was hurt when all that rock came down at Rock Creek Bay in Utah. It has been subject to erosion from the weather, wind, and rain, of course, over millions and millions of years. But changing lake water levels and the effects of wave action are also suspected of contributing to the collapse of this arch. That according to Glen Canyon National Recreation Area Superintendent Michelle Kearns. She said, this event, and I'll show you what it looks like now. So that was the before. And here's the now. You can see that kind of what was the circle there. It's nothing now. It's just kind of gone. She says it serves as a reminder of our responsibility and need to protect the mineral resources surrounding Lake Powell. These features, she said, have a lifespan that can be influenced or damaged by man-made interventions. She said, while we don't know what caused this collapse, we will continue to maintain our resource protection efforts on Lake Powell for future generations to enjoy. Please enjoy our resources, but leave no trace. And so that's it. Away it goes. This thing that was around since the Triassic period and is now completely and totally gone. Amazing how just in the blink of an eye, that's it. Yeah. I'm glad nobody was hurt, but it's kind of sad that, if you, I never saw it. I don't know if you saw it. Did anybody in the chat see it? It's gone. That's it. It was formed again 190 million years ago. It's Navajo sandstone originating in the late Triassic to early Jurassic periods. And they say the fine-grained sandstone has endured erosion from weather, wind, and rain. And that's it. So, sayonara to the toilet bowl, the double arches, and the hole in the roof. That's it. Okay, I'm going to the chat, see if you guys have been there. These arches went the way of all flesh. I guess so. John says it was hard to get to because you had to take a boat to it. I'm assuming you've been there. Yeah. Oh, we know what happened to Gordon now. His YouTube speaker control was muted. I don't know. People climb on it, says Wes. Hopefully no one was on it when it collapsed. Yeah, they don't think anyone was hurt, so that's the good thing. I don't know. Let's move to animals, because I gotta love baby monkeys. Love baby monkeys. How cute could they possibly be? There they are. Look how cute. Look how cute. Two baby monkeys. They're Patas monkeys, P-A-T-A-S. Born at the Rosamond Gifford Zoo. Brand new to the world, these little ones. In New York. Two newborn Patas monkeys are being hand-raised at this zoo in New York. They're half-sisters, and they're being hand-raised by the keepers there. The Rosamond Gifford Zoo in Syracuse, New York, said a monkey named Iniko gave birth to a baby girl named Sisu in April. Her older sister Cassie gave birth to a girl named Mushu May, and both of them were fathered by the same monkey daddy. Had sex with sisters? Come on. His name is Mac. He's the leader of the troop. The zoo says both monkey mothers struggled to demonstrate maternal instincts necessary to raise their young, and that is why both of these baby monkeys are being hand-raised by the zookeepers. So they say, we're very glad to welcome these primate newborns to our zoo, and we're fortunate to have such an amazing zoo to call home. The animal care diligent work team has ensured little Sisu and Mushu have a safe, healthy future. These monkeys apparently have a high infant mortality rate in the wild. It's really not uncommon for their mothers to be uninterested or incapable of raising their young. And so they say, given the adversity this particular species faces with reproduction, the birth of these two is an exceptional contribution to the zoo's Patas monkey troop and the North American population as well. And because they're so significant, they're taking extraordinary steps to protect their health so they can reach adulthood. Well, there you go. Cute little baby monkeys. Speaking of animals, did you know, as it turns out, horses are a lot smarter than initially thought? And we knew they were smart, but apparently they're more cognitively advanced than we give them credit for. The findings on this come from this study in which horses perform better than expected in this complex reward-based game. When denied treats for not following the rules of the game, researchers found the horses were able to instantly switch strategies to get more rewards. They did this study at Nottingham Trent University in the UK. The researchers there say this shows these animals have the ability to think and plan ahead. And that was previously thought beyond their capability, but now we know, no, they have a plan. The researchers in equine science said horses are not natural geniuses. They were thought of as mediocre, but this study shows they are not average, and in fact, more cognitively advanced than we give them credit for. They took 20 horses, and they gave them a task consisting of 3 stages. In the first, the animals had to touch a piece of card with their nose in order to get a treat. Then it got a little more complicated. When a light was introduced and the horses were only allowed a snack if they touched the card while the light was turned off. So they kept blindly touching the card regardless of whether the light was on or off, but they were only rewarded for the correct responses. In the final stage of the game, a penalty was put in place where touching the card when the stoplight was on resulted in a 10-second timeout. So instead of indiscriminately touching the card, the horses were engaging with the rules, only to make the move at the right time in order to get the treat. Animals, they say, usually need several repetitions of a task to gradually acquire new knowledge, whereas the horses knew immediately and improved really quickly when introduced a cost for errors. It suggests that the horses knew all along what the rules of the game were. Interesting study published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science. Horses, we knew it. The horses do what they want to do when they want to do it. They're not going to play your little reindeer games. Are you kidding me? I don't think there's usually alligators in Lake Erie, but it seems there are now, and they're trying to find them and get them out of there. Check out this video. The trappers are hunting for this alligator in Lake Erie. Yeah. I hope they find it, because if people aren't expecting to find this,
things Lake Erie beachgoers expect to see, an alligator certainly is not one of them. However, that's exactly what several people claim they saw Sunday near the East Avenue boat launch. Matt Mathias took a dive into the situation and has the very latest. Matt.
Well, Jen, that's absolutely right. Lake Erie is much further north than where alligators typically live, but after a sighting over the weekend caught on video, officials are investigating. After the sighting of a 4 to 5 foot alligator on Sunday, eyewitnesses reached out to Erie police, who then passed it along to the Erie Port Authority.
We are very diligent in making sure, keeping an eye on the water and, of course, on the land, and we have not had a sighting since then. But again, we have a team in place that is just monitoring our entire footprint and, of course, on the water, just to make sure everyone is safe.
Slomsky tells us they're working with local trappers and have had communications with people down south who have experience with alligators. They've also put up signage surrounding the area where the alligator was allegedly spotted, saying to tread with caution in the area. And while the hope is it'll be captured soon, reptile experts with the Erie Zoo don't believe the gator would survive through an Erie winter.
They do go into like a hibernation sort of thing called burmation, where they won't eat quite as much in the winter. Their bodies will slow down because they're cold-blooded versus us and other mammals that are warm-blooded. And they need the sun, they need the heat to be able to metabolize anything that they do eat.
Julius believes due to the estimated size of the gator spotted in Erie, it's around 2 to 4 years old. And it'll likely try to have a diet consisting of frogs, tadpoles, fish, and maybe even smaller mammals. Right now, the working theory is that the gator was someone's exotic pet, and it was unfortunately released by the owner into the lake.
It's definitely more scared of you than you are of it, so it will probably just swim away from you anytime you're within 10 feet of it. So it's not really going to come after you.
For now, the Port Authority will continue to monitor the area nearby the East Avenue boat launch, as well as Lampe Marina and Campground.
But again, the concern is if someone just released it into the bay, like we're hearing happen, it's disappointing because, again, it puts many people in danger along with the gator itself.
Now, the Port Authority.
Okay, is it just me, or does that reporter kind of look like a young J.D. Vance? I don't know. Maybe he should shave the beard and the mustache. I'm not sure. Can you imagine, though? It'd be kind of like, imagine the waterway in your area, and there's an alligator there in the Petaluma River, right? There isn't, but kind of scary for people. So yeah, alligator in the river. There is a story about, and we've seen this type of situation before, where a snake slithers into a spot, ends up causing a bunch of trouble. This is not the snake. This snake is a 7-inch baby ocelot viper, and that's not the kind of snake that caused the problem. But utility companies in Virginia say they think it was a snake that caused a power outage over the weekend for nearly 12,000 of their customers. They think a snake slithered into a high voltage area and came into contact with a transformer. So they don't know what kind of snake, but they're pretty sure it was a snake. And yeah, zapped the power out for all those people. That happened in Virginia, sadly, for the snake. Banksy is back. In this particular instance, this old car, look, it's got pop tires, it's been there for a while. Banksy comes out and paints this rhinoceros mounting this vehicle. I really like this one. This is a pretty good one. It's a little racy for Banksy, but it's very interesting. There have been 7 Banksy images in 7 days across London. And now this new rhino mural shows he's not done yet. Nope. Or she, I guess we could say. They don't know how many more pieces of art Banksy has in store. But this one is his 8th piece of animal artwork in 8 days. This is an old silver Nissan Micra with a traffic cone on its hood. I guess he thought maybe that car looked like a rhino. So creative. The fans thought maybe Banksy would be done at the end of last week, but no, it continues. This rhino mural is on the side of a building in Westmore Street in Charlton, southeast London, near to a yard used by the RMS Waste Disposal Company. So workers there found the image when they arrived on site this morning, but they didn't know if it was genuine until it was confirmed. So it's been designed, as you can tell, to look as though the animal is climbing on to the car parked next to the property. I would say, don't you think that's more than climbing on? I think that's mounting. I mean, it looks like that to me. So, what's interesting about this is it's so perfect that you can never move this car now. The car has to stay. Because it's not going to be the same if you take the car away. So that car has to sit there and slowly decay. And decay and decay. That's just the way it is. Or maybe the nature of street art is that it's fleeting. In a constantly changing environment. I hope they leave the car there for a while. There is something now placed next to it. They have this skip placed next to it. But I don't know. The thinking is that maybe these Banksy images will continue through the week. So I'll keep up on that and I'll bring you the next one. But I think this one's pretty classic. This might be my favorite so far. They're going a little bit disco on Mars. At least that's the image I have in my head. This story is about blasting glitter into the atmosphere around Mars. And they think that by doing this, there's a potential it could make Mars more habitable. Pumping these engineered particles, similar in size to commercially available glitter, made of iron or aluminum into the atmosphere, could help heat up Mars, according to this new study. Let's just, take this planet and pollute it as well. Might as well, right? That's the thing we're good at, human beings. Scientists say warming up the red planet to around 28 degrees Celsius could make it more hospitable for humans by melting ice and allowing microbial life to flourish. According to this study, 1/3 of Mars' surface is water, and streams may have flowed around the planet as recently as 600,000 years ago, but at present, it's just too cold to be habitable. So scientists have been trying to work out how they could heat up this planet. So far, all the ideas proposed have been too expensive, too hard to implement. But now the scientists at the University of Chicago, Northwestern University in Illinois, and the University of Central Florida say they could use these engineered particles made from iron and aluminum that lies on the planet's surface to reflect light and trap escaping heat. What do you think? I don't know. It's the same process humans have accidentally employed here on Earth when we release material into the atmosphere to enhance Mars' natural greenhouse effect and trap solar heat at the surface. So instead of CO2 and methane, researchers say conductive nanorods, not much smaller than glitter, could do the job. That means materials wouldn't need to be brought to Mars. They're already there, so that makes this whole thing more feasible. For Mars, warming the planet is a necessary first step to making it habitable. Now, previous concepts on this have focused on releasing greenhouse gases. Those require large amounts of resources that are scarce on Mars. This study, by the way, published this week in the journal Science Advances. They think this, I'll call it glitter, turning it into a big disco planet. Once lifted into the atmosphere, the Mars glitter would be much slower to settle than standard Mars dust, so it would stay up there for a longer time. You'd still need millions of tons of this glitter to warm the planet, but it's 5,000 times less than you would need with previous proposals to globally warm Mars. So it significantly increases the possibility of actually getting this done. Even if you made it warmer. Astronauts, they say, still will not be able to breathe on Mars because the air is so thin that it will be a long time before humans can walk on the surface unaided. That's it. Mars glitter. You think we need to tamper with Mars? Shoot glitter into the atmosphere? I don't know. Let's talk about childhood vaccines. The CDC has come out with some new information. How cute is that, baby? Childhood vaccines have saved 1 million U.S. lives since 1994. 1994. These findings, they say, offer compelling evidence of the power of childhood vaccines. This is a new government report, and it shows these routine shots have prevented hundreds of millions of illnesses, tens of millions of hospitalizations, and more than 1 million deaths among Americans born in the last 30 years. The data is published Thursday, by the way, by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and it analyzed the benefits of the CDC's Vaccines for Children program launched in 1994 to make childhood immunizations more affordable and more accessible. They call the data a testament to the success of vaccinations for preventing diseases. These vaccinations currently recommended in the Childhood Vaccine Series are provided at reduced cost as part of the Vaccines for Children program. So doctors say they're very pleased and grateful to see the study being performed to report the health benefits of vaccinations as a way to prevent disease. One pediatrician says, "My job is to keep children healthy and out of the hospital, and vaccines are a way to do this." She says she encourages all parents, pardon me, to continually have a conversation and discussion with their pediatrician. This new CDC study, though, saw researchers from the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases quantifying the health benefits and economic impact of routine immunizations among children in the U.S. born since 1994. 9 vaccines were included in the study: diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, that's whooping cough, right? Hemophilus, influenza type B, poliovirus, measles, mumps, rubella, hepatitis B, varicella, hep A, that's pneumococcal conjugate, and rotavirus. So they also looked at COVID, RSV, those were not, flu, COVID, and RSV were not included. 117 million children born in 1994 through 2003 were looked at. They say the routine vaccinations will have prevented some 508 million cases of illnesses, 32 million hospitalizations, and just over 1 million deaths. Incredible. And this comes at a time where I'm reading other stories saying there's more vaccine hesitancy now than ever before since we've had the innovation of vaccines, that people are more hesitant to give them to children. Well, if we have data showing that they've prevented illness and death, this really concerns me moving forward if people aren't vaccinating their kids. And I can only hope that more people are vaccinating than not, and that we still maintain this herd immunity. So Let's go from the serious to the what? Yeah. This is a last minute decision that ends up getting this man from Michigan quite the winning day. He said it was a split-second decision to buy a lottery ticket that led to his winning prize of $25,000 a year for the rest of his life. Guy's 57. His name is Matthew. He said he hadn't originally intended to stop at Heartland AC Holdings LLC, where he ended up buying his ticket for the Lucky for Life drawing in June. He said, I wasn't going to play Lucky for Life that day, but I was driving by the store on my way home, and I decided at the last minute to stop. Cough break. Pardon me. So he says he does drop by the store, and he buys this last minute ticket, and the next day he said he called the Michigan Lottery's winning number hotline, and when all the numbers were read off that were on his ticket, he shouted, heck yeah! And he said he instantly felt numb, and he still does even weeks later. His good fortune, according to the lottery commissioner, is part of what makes the lottery games fun, never knowing when or where you might buy the big winner. Like the last minute stop for this man on a whim, leading to a life-changing win. He said it'll give his retirement a nice financial cushion. $25,000 a year for the rest of your life. Pretty good. I don't think I'd turn that down. This study about autism. This is kind of sad but interesting as well. And according to researchers, they found that autism is likely to recur among kids in the same family. And so what they're saying is, there's a good chance that if one child in a family has autism, another will also develop that disorder. Children are 7 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism if an older sibling has the disorder. This study is published recently in the journal Pediatrics. And the point of it is to let pediatricians and family members know that they should keep a very close eye on infants born into families where there's already a child that's been diagnosed with autism. The study done by the Kennedy Krieger Institute Center for Autism Services, because they say that early referral for diagnostic evaluation is really, really important when you're talking about support and resources and intervention. So they looked at data from more than 1,600 babies that had an older sibling with autism. The infants were evaluated repeatedly between the ages of 6 months and 3 years old. And the results showed 1 in 5 of those kids, 20%, where an older sibling has autism, are likely to be diagnosed with the disorder as well. The risk increases with the number of autistic siblings. More than 1 in 3 children will develop autism if they have more than one older sibling with that disorder. They also found the sex of the child significantly influences risk of autism, that younger siblings of female autistic children were more likely to develop autism compared to siblings of males. So it was 35% for younger siblings of female autistic, 23% younger siblings of male older autistic. On the other hand, male younger siblings had a higher likelihood of being autistic than females. 19% of white families had autism recur in another sibling, 25% across other races. So the researchers are saying the scale and diversity of the group of infants compared to the prior recurrence rate published over a decade ago gives strong evidence that the recurrence rates are reliable. What's interesting is that they say maternal education also appears to play some role in a child's risk of autism. Isn't that interesting? Autism recurred in younger siblings 33% of the time for moms with a high school education or less, but that risk decreased for mothers with a higher education. And that's why the researchers say it's crucial that we ensure families facing social inequities have access to resources, education providers, because every child with autism in their family deserves this type of support. It's an interesting study, and I don't know the why, but the numbers themselves present a lot of questions, at least for me. We have this Turon study. Not a study, more kind of a incident. We've seen it recently, paintballs being shot in national parks and what have you, for which, by the way, I got called a Karen for doing that story, but I digress. I'll call these people Turons, absolutely. In this particular case, check it out. We're talking about scrawling your name, defacing a surface in Pompeii. Yeah. Perfectly preserved streets, right? Where people lived 2,000 years ago. There's what it looks like. You can see that someone just decided it was a good day to go ahead and carve their initials in a home in Pompeii. 2,000-year-old home. Perfectly preserved until the Turons came along. This is a British tourist caught this week engraving the initials of himself and his family into one of the city's 2,000-year-old homes. 37-year-old person said to have made 5 engravings, the initials of his family and the date, August 7th, with a blunt object on the wall of the House of the Vestal Virgins. Seriously. Photos of the damage show the letters scratched into the plaster. You can see them there, beside the entrance door, which was frescoed red about 2,000 years ago. The letters JW, LMW, and MW high on the wall, and MYLAW, and then the date further down are clearly visible. So the staff working at the site noticed this, and they called the police. According to the Italian news agency, the man apologized, saying he had written the initials of himself and 2 of his daughters to leave a sign of their visit to the site. Really? Is that important that you were there? That you want to deface things? I'm telling you, crazy. Crazy. The archaeological park declined to comment. There was another tourist from Kazakhstan caught carving his initials into the House of Che in Pompeii as well. At the time, the tourist was made to pay for the restoration of the wall. Now, with this case from this man in the UK, they've referred the case to a local court in a nearby town as damage to artistic heritage. The charge carries a fine of 20 to 60,000 euros and a possible jail term of up to 5 years, thanks to laws that were just toughened up in January. And here's what the law covers: the act of destroying or damaging cultural or landscape heritage. There's a lesser charge for defacing heritage sites that can impose between 10 to 40,000 euro fine. The reason they've had to toughen up the laws is because this really amazing and vast site in Pompeii has been victim to tourists who are acting horribly. I mean, seriously, they should be embarrassed. They've carved their initials and taken items, stolen things, since excavations began in the 1700s. In 2022, according to CNN, a tourist from Australia rode a moped around the ancient site. So tourists in Italy, they're not loving the tourists right now. The top sites tend to be art or archaeology focused, and they're more fragile, maybe than other sites, UNESCO World Heritage sites or what have you. You don't go to a place of history that we're trying to preserve and deface it. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know about jail time, but definitely the top level fine and paying for cleaning this up. Incredible. And hopefully, for the people that would go and do something like this, they hear a story like this and it's a deterrent. Like, oh, they don't want us to go do those things. Got it. Yeah. No, thank you. Ugh, really pisses me off. Can we talk for a moment? And I'm sorry to show you this picture about mosquitoes. I know. They love me. Mosquitoes do. So I'm a little bit happy about the world's first drone mosquito. Kind of. It's the world's first mosquito drone delivery. And they're hoping that this could help stop the spread of diseases like dengue fever. The special delivery is dropping mosquitoes infected with bacteria to help control their populations. They've got drones they're sending into the field. It's uncrewed aerial vehicles, or UAVs, flying over Fiji right now, dropping hundreds of mosquitoes infected with bacteria that stop them from spreading diseases among the human population. Right now, they're especially worried about the dengue fever, which is a viral disease spread by the bite of the Aedes aegypti mosquito. About half of the world's population live in areas with a high risk of dengue transmission. So cases this year have been surging. Now they're trying to get rid of the mosquitoes because there are no specific treatments for dengue fever. A lot of people just experience a short illness and then recover. But nobody wants to get this, right? So if the mosquitoes can't get infected with dengue, then they can't spread it to the next person that they bite. So seeding the population of infected mosquitoes in India, or rather Indonesia, in 2017 led to a 77% decrease in dengue infections. That was pretty good. So they're trying now to replicate that success in a larger geographical area. They developed a fully automated mosquito dosing release system that let out smaller cohorts of mosquitoes over a wide area and integrated it into a drone. They established the effectiveness of this system using an aerial mark release and recapture approach, and then demonstrated that using only the aerial release method, they could establish the infection in the native mosquito population, which is the infection of the bacteria that they're trying to give these mosquitoes. So they had this 4-week trial in Fiji. The drones were deployed to release these mosquitoes that were tagged with fluorescent powder so they could later be identified and recaptured. And it showed, they say, that this worked. The mosquitoes, most of them survived their journey. The second part of the study saw the team trialing the drones across a 2 square kilometer, nearly a square mile zone, in one of the towns in Fiji, Nausori. An average of 155 mosquitoes per hectare were released each week for 16 weeks in total, with a couple of short pauses because they had some technical issues. But overall, they calculated that about 31,000 insects infected with this bacteria were released, with the aim that these would establish the bacteria within the local mosquito population. And when they reviewed the situation a year later, it's exactly what they found. 60% of mosquitoes had been infected with this bacteria and could no longer transmit diseases. A lot of coughing for me today. Sorry about that. They say it's proof of concept, and it's the basis for further development of improved dosing mechanisms, long-range delivery platforms, and the associated mosquito handling systems. I feel like part of me wishes they could just, put out these mosquitoes that are sterile so that when the mosquitoes breed, there would really be none left, to just kind of phase them out. But I know that mosquitoes are part of the circle of life, that bats eat them, that animals eat them, and if we killed all the mosquitoes, then we'd have a real problem. But still, I think I would enjoy a world with no mosquitoes. Even though I understand They're important. It's not important to me. Did you see this? We talk a lot about sustainable fabrics and reusing clothes and, making the world better in all of these different ways. This actress, I guess Kate Blanchett, wore this very interesting top made of spoons. Sorry, I'll get the mosquito away so you don't have to look at the up close bug. Here she is. She wears this top made of spoons. Kate Blanchett has this, I don't know if we call it a blouse or just a top. It's more than 100 spoons. She wore it at a red carpet event in Los Angeles. It's by the Swedish brand Hodakova. It's made up of 102 antique spoons. She was at a Borderlands fan event in Los Angeles last week. The spoons were sourced in Sweden. This brand, Hodakova, also uses heirloom objects in their work often. And they're dedicated, they say, to building the first fully sustainable fashion house in the world and changing the fashion industry's perspectives on the possibilities of circularity, using things over and over again. The problem is, I'm good if it's cute. I mean, if you could make a top out of spoons that was nice looking, then I'd say fantastic. But instead, it looks like a bunch of spoon armor. I don't necessarily like it. I mean, I'd love to get your opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Everybody has their own thing. I mean, should we sacrifice? Now, are we at the point where we need to sacrifice the look of things in order to say, hey, it's more important that it was recycled and less important that it's not very cute? I don't like it. It's too... I've seen on... What's the show? The reality show that had Heidi Klum. Forget the name of it. But designers given items and told to make fashion out of it. And they do. And you would never guess that it was spoons or that it was a lampshade or that it was plastic or whatever. But that's not this. This, to me, definitely looks like just spoons hanging off your chest. There's really not much creative about it other than that it's spoons. Now, if they had maybe melted down the spoons, I don't know, used it as some other type of adornment rather than just spoons in their natural state, or maybe spoons around the edge of something, but just a big pile of spoons on your chest, I'm not loving it. Sandy says an artist friend of mine made a dress out of sporks. She wore it at Burning Man and it was super cool looking. Gordon, that's cool. Gordon says the chest should be baby spoons to show the shape. Susan, I agree, says it must be heavy and not comfortable. Aren't there a bunch of other options? I would think there's more that you could do with spoons. Maybe hammering them out into some type of other thing. But what did she do? She just took spoons and hung them off of some type of a net or piece of fabric and slapped them on a person. No. Mm-mm. Karen says, well, it's attention getting. Isn't that the point? I guess so. Julie says it reminds me of mollusks. Oh, that's interesting. Gordon says, I've seen gears welded together to make things. Louise says that's as bad as the movie Borderland, whose premiere she wore it to. Sandy says sporks are made of plastic, so the dress would be much lighter than this one. It does. It looks heavy and cumbersome and not really creative other than the fact that you put spoons up. That's it. Knives next. Yes, Calvin. Project Runway. Exactly. They have this challenge, at least they did when I used to watch the show. They have this challenge where you have to pick some type of interesting material they have set on a table. And it could be spoons, it could be plastic, it could be whatever. And the challenge is to reuse it. And most of them try to make it into something that doesn't look like what it was originally. And they get really creative and really good with it. This, it looks like what it was originally. Lady Gaga would approve, says the Lady Beatrice. Gordon says definitely too heavy. Spoon shirt. I don't give a fork. That's funny. Maybe jewelry, bracelets, earrings, rings. I've seen bracelets made of silverware. Kind of pretty. Yeah. Rev says she'd be great at an ice cream shop. Can you imagine the sound that would make as you're walking around? Clank, clank, clankety clank. I don't know. Plastic could take them out of the landfill. Yeah, that'd be good. Mindy says just bring some Ben and Jerry's the next time she goes to the after party. Nice. Or she goes to a party. Sorry, I put after party in there. Well, I'm glad that we all feel the same about this. Not super cute. Glad to see that there are designers that with an eye towards sustainability. I wish the sustainability would be made in a cuter way. At least she has a spoon if she orders soup. Oh my gosh. Crazy. Do you guys remember the story of this school worker that was jailed or that was busted basically for stealing chicken wings? Happened in the UK. And they didn't just steal some chicken wings. Like, they stole a lot of chicken wings. This was a big deal. The chicken wings, I have a picture of chicken wings to show you because clearly can't do the story without chicken wings. There you go. We needed it. We needed to see the chicken wings. So this happened at a school in the UK. Vera Liddell spent a year stealing chicken wings by the van load. She took 11,000 cases of chicken wings that were supposed to go to the students during the height of the pandemic. She's 68 years old. She started stealing the chicken wings in 2020, and she wasn't found out until a business manager at her school near Chicago found that food costs were $300,000 over budget during a routine audit. Busted. Where's all the food going? What's happening? Well, Liddell apparently bought up the huge amount of food and then used a school cargo van to pick it up, and students never got a single wing. They were closed at the time during the pandemic, but the district was sending meal kits to students who were learning remotely. Most of the time, the people that go pick up those kits are the people that really need the food, right? So she's taking food away from people that really need it. She was the head of food service for 10 years at that district. She's found out, she's charged with theft and operating a criminal enterprise, and now we know the penalty. Ms. Liddell is handed a 9-year jail sentence. 9 years she gets for stealing chicken wings worth $1.5 million by the van load. So she goes to jail now for 9 years. That's it. She pleaded guilty to this. I mean, you're caught red-handed. I don't know. Probably would have gotten a stiffer sentence if she hadn't cooperated. And that's it. Busted for the chicken wings, 9 years behind bars for that type of a theft. And I'm not sorry to see her go. Was anybody sorry to see her go? I think that's a pretty awful crime, to be honest. Stealing food from poor children. I mean, what kind of a person do you have to be, honestly? Last story I have for you today is about announcements made at the Disneyland convention. And some of the things that we now know are coming up. Pretty exciting. At least for people that end up in Disneyland. I have kids, so I end up there at least. Gosh, it's been a couple years since we used to go every year. Now we don't have as much of a vacation fund. So those trips are fewer and further between. But it's kind of exciting now that we're going to have new things to see. So they did the convention, the Disney convention, D23. And there's some new projects. Everyone has known that these new things were coming up. But most of the time, it's been through little teases here and there that the information has come. Now, though, the company is really giving some detailed information into what the $60 billion investment into their parks and cruises will actually look like. Not everything. They're not saying everything, but they're saying more than what they were. So here's what they're saying. What's coming to Walt Disney World in Florida? The biggest expansion they've ever done. Behind the Thunder Mountain Railroad, they're going to put in another Cars Land. Not the same as the other one. This one is a villains-themed area depicting what they say is an ominous setting. 2 major rides, according to the Cars announcement made Saturday night. One is not a replica of Cars Land in California, but this is an off-road adventure. One is a thrill ride, one is a family-friendly ride. They're going to break ground on this new Cars area in Florida in 2025. They're getting a new nighttime parade called Disney Starlight in the summer of 2025. They're building in Florida a new Monstropolis land based on Monsters, Inc. So that'll be fun. You'll be able to zoom through the door vault in the Monsters, Inc. factory. In both Florida and California, the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge will see a new storyline featuring the Mandalorian and Grogu. At Disney's Animal Kingdom Park, Tropical Americas area is now confirmed to open in 2027, and it will include the first ride based on the movie Encanto. Inside the magical casita where the movie's Madrigal family lives. So the guests will be able to journey through the day that the character Antonio receives his magical gift. They'll have an Indiana Jones ride, with a former dinosaur ride building used to be, but now it will be in the Indiana Jones ride area. So a lot of new things are coming. Pretty cool. That Animal Kingdom in Florida also going to see a Zootopia show under their Tree of Life. At Epcot, the revamped Test Track will open in 2025. They're getting a new Spaceship Earth Lounge that looks out at Dreamer's Point. At Disneyland in California, where it will be the 70th anniversary in 2025, they're going to create the first ever audio animatronic version of Walt Disney. They had, I don't know if you ever saw the Abraham Lincoln audio animatronic show at Disneyland, but the technology is so much better now that I bet he's going to look almost real. So he'll be on a stage where guests in a theater can see him sitting in his office telling stories about what it was like during his time leading Disney's company. And it will be in a show in rotation with the current Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln on Main Street in the Opera House. Pretty cool. I'd go see that. Disneyland's former Splash Mountain, we know, is now Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That opens November 15th. At Disney California Adventure Park, Avengers Campus will more than double in size. The construction starts next year. The first major attraction added to this area, a thrill ride called Avengers Infinity Defense, which guests will discover a portal technology has gone missing, causing the king to wreak havoc across multiple worlds, and you get to battle alongside the Avengers in defending New York City and in other lands. They also have the Stark Flight Lab, where guests can ride a test flight like Iron Man, in a 2-person pod picked up by a robot arm that makes the pod fly. In Disney's California Adventure, they're also getting a new ride themed to Pixar's Coco. That's going to break ground in 2026. So a lot of new things coming up for Disneyland. Doing a huge expansion and giving us a lot to look forward to. Please click the like button if you can. I would appreciate that so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this show. Working the way up and up I'll give you the current number of subscribers. It was, when I last looked at it, 2,336. So we're slowly getting there. I think that's probably where we are now, but it's always exciting to see that number grow. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that. And I will see you back here tomorrow, where I will be hosting the Mark Thompson Show. David K. Johnston will be on the show, and we'll have some great recorded interviews that Mark has left behind for me. So I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to the After Party Live, because it's Travel Tuesday. So we'll go on a lovely adventure together. Yeah, the current number, 2,236. So 4 more and we'll be 2,240. Everyone counts. Thank you guys. I hope you have a really good rest of your Monday, and I'll see you tomorrow right here on the YouTube.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.